say good afternoon to everyone else in attendance. Today we are here to take a closer look at how improving graduation rates in our nation's high schools can help strengthen our competitiveness and the strength of our economy. We are also going to take a look at what's working to help turn around the so-called dropout factories and their feeder schools. Some may think twice about using the word crisis to define what's happening in our high schools, but the truth is we just aren't facing a crisis. The house is on fire. The new McKinsey report says that the achievement gaps in this country are the same as having, and I quote, a permanent national recession. Today, only 70% of students graduate with a regular high school diploma. Of these students, fewer than half graduate fully prepared for college-level work or success in the workforce. Nearly 1 in 5 U.S. men between the ages of 16 and 24, and nearly 19% have dropped out. About 12% of high schools produce close to half of the students who drop out. In these 2,000 high schools, so-called dropout factories, about as many students drop out as graduate. These dropout factories disproportionately impact minority students, producing 69% of all the African American and 63% of Hispanic students who drop out. Nationally, only about a little more than 50% of African American students and Hispanic students graduate on time, compared to 78% of the white students. It is a national tragedy that if you're a minority student in this country, you have a 1 in 3 chance of attending a dropout factory. We used to be a world leader in high school graduation rates. Now we've fallen to 18th out of 24 among industrialized nations. Studies also show the longer our students stay in school, the more they fall behind their international peers. Last month's NAEP study of long-term trends show that 17-year-old students' reading and math scores have not improved since the 1970s. This was astonishing. We cannot afford to continue this way, not for our students, our economy, or our future competitiveness. A high school dropout earns an average of $260,000 less than a high school graduate and about $1 million less than a college graduate over their lifetime. Each class of high school dropouts costs the economy $309 billion in lost wages over that student's lifetime. Those students' lifetime. In fact, the McKinsey report shows the international achievement gap poses a greater economic threat to our economy than the current downturn. It found that if the United States had closed the international achievement gap between 1983 and 1998, our 2008 GDP would have been between $1 and $2 trillion higher. That's about 9 to 16% of our GDP. We should be producing the most qualified and talented workforce possible. Instead, businesses say high school graduates are not ready for the workplace, and colleges say high school graduates are not ready for the rigors of college. It's become increasingly clear that addressing this dropout crisis is one of the most important things we can do to turn our economy around for good. In its current form, the No Child Left Behind doesn't do enough to turn around low-performing middle and high schools and improve our graduation rates, partly because we do not yet have common state standards. Each state uses different data and calculations to determine their graduation rates. A sampling of dropout factories found that almost 40% had made adequately yearly progress under No Child Left Behind. It is safe to say that if 40% of a school's students aren't graduating, that school is not succeeding. We need to hold schools responsible for their graduation rates so we can improve student performance. We also need to discourage students from pushing out students who aren't making the grade and ask schools to keep their doors open to students who leave and want to return. Earlier this year, President Obama called on Congress to take action. He said the dropout crisis in this country was bigger than any single person who chooses not to finish high school. I couldn't agree more. This crisis is a drain on our economy, it's an embarrassment to our schools, and it has to change. The President and Secretary Duncan know that we need to give schools the means to support and encourage students to stay in school. We can no longer endorse a system of acceptable losses. I hope that today's hearing will be a good first step as we work with the Obama administration to finally address this crisis. Lastly, I'd like to thank my committee colleagues for their outstanding leadership on this issue, including Chairman Kilde's Fast Track to College Act, Representative Grijalva's Success for in the Middle Act, Representative Hinojosa's Graduation Promise Act, and Representative Scott's Graduates Act. Clearly, there is a great interest in moving forward with legislation to address this urgent problem. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses and what we can do to dramatically improve the educational opportunities we are providing to all high school students in this country.